It's time for a reality check.
We're here to deconstruct health and fitness trends and provide tangible advice so you can become 1% better with each choice starting today. Welcome back to Reality Check. We are your hosts, Jess and Jill, and today we want to talk about the good enough approach to wellness. That is what we've decided to name this podcast. And I think we get so caught up in the perfect plan and what the right thing to do is and what someone else is doing. And there's so many variables to consider when you're determining that. But at the end of the day, there are a few core things that no matter where you're at in your fitness journey will move the needle faster than anything else. Whether you think your hormones are off, you have gut issues, you want to lose 100 pounds, you want to lose 10 pounds, you want to sleep better, like whatever. It really doesn't matter what the ultimate finish line looks like for you in your head. These things, or what your starting point is, these things are going to move the needle faster than anything else. And quite frankly, no matter what you decide to implement, should be your foundation regardless. There's all these biohacking and red light and vibration plates on TikTok. Those things are cool, and I love that for you. But this good enough approach to wellness is like, you don't have to be perfect, but if you do these things, you're going to see really killer progress.
And if you try to skip ahead and do the other things and neglect these things, you will probably say, oh, nothing works for me. I don't know why. So yes. In either case, this stuff is the foundation.
Yeah. And like everyone always wants this, like, ooh, this is like this cool new thing. And this is the way to implement it. And this is fancy. And I haven't tried this before. And what you haven't tried before, likely, respectfully, if you're listening to this and you feel stuck, is doing the boring stuff for a really long time.
Over and over.
Yeah.
For like most of the time, not like Monday through Thursday, and then you do not it Friday through Saturday. Guess what? I saw a post the other day that said, yeah, if you do that, you're on, let's say you're on Monday through Thursday, and then every weekend, Friday to Sunday, you're off. That's like 56%. Yeah, something like that of your week. Would you ever, like, I don't know, think that a 54% is going to get you passing on a test of something? Like, no, obviously you're not making progress. Half of your time is spent not doing the things, right? What matters is what we do most of the time. Neither of us ever think that our clients need to be perfect. We are not perfect. You do not need to be on 100% of the time, but like be on 300 days of the 365-day year, right? Like what you do most of the time is what matters.
Yep, 100%. So all of that being said, I mentioned this on a recent episode, and I want to reiterate this, and I'll spare the details, but our client who recently signed up with us said, he was so focused on weight loss to get healthy, and he realized that he was looking at it backwards, and that he needs to get healthy, and weight loss is going to be a byproduct of that. And that's really our entire approach, quite frankly, within Fueled, is how healthy can we get you from the inside out. External is going to reflect your internal health ultimately, right? But your inputs and everything and the things you do on a daily basis and who you are and what your habits are and how you show up for yourself, that is what's going to determine if you lose weight and keep it off. And it's funny, I just saw a Facebook post this morning, actually, of this girl who she was like posting in a Facebook group. I want to say it was some Peloton Facebook group. And she was talking about how she was so frustrated because she lost so much weight successfully, right? She like got the result she wanted. But she's like, why is it so hard to keep my result? Like, I feel like I can't eat anything or I'll gain weight. And she's now created this environment for herself where she's so restricted because, yes, like you can lose weight a lot of different ways. And most of them that are advertised and shared and that we know about aren't very healthy. So now she feels like she has to restrict because she's so tied to this number on the scale, and she's terrified of losing her result, that now her health is going to start to suffer because she's significantly under eating for an extended period of time. And she's kind of lost sight of that. And she's created these new habits and this new environment for herself, but they maybe don't serve her in the way that she can maintain her results in the long run and be healthy and strong and not worry about the scale and not count every calorie and all these things. So now she's got this whole other problem to address. So
I think it makes sense what you just said too, because earlier in the episode, you said, this is the fastest way to results. It's the fastest way to sustaining results. Doing these basics is the fastest way to sustaining results. Anybody can get 30-day results doing something extreme. And then guess what happens? You rebound harder. And then it's this cycle. And we work with women like this over and over and over again, where it's been 10 years of that. So like, what's 1 year of doing the basics and not seeing tomorrow results? If it actually will then stay off for the rest of your life, right? Or you'll feel good, or you won't feel obsessed with the scale and every bite you put in your face, right? So zoom out, grand scheme wise, this is the fastest way to get there to keep results, not, okay, quick physique change, and then not actually fixing the foundations.
So I feel like a really good example of when we talk about the good enough approach to wellness and how we get stuck in these like rabbit holes with our blinders on, essentially. A lot of women talk about like cortisol or insulin resistance, right? And they're like, well, I know this is preventing me from losing weight. And so often I ask a lot of questions, and sometimes I feel like people are like, what are you getting at here when I'm in these conversations with women? But my point is that they think I have insulin resistance and this girl said to get on berberine, or I have X, Y, and Z and I need this supplement. And it's like, okay, hold on a second. How you didn't just wake up yesterday with insulin resistance. You weren't just the lucky one and you got zapped with it, right? Like, what developed over time to the point that you are, let's say you are insulin resistant, right? Fine. What got you there, and what caused your cells over time to be resistant to insulin that you feel this is a problem not serving you? I will tell you, the fastest way and one of the most effective things for insulin resistance specifically is lifting weights and building muscle. Yet somehow we are still avoiding doing that, which is the biggest problem.
And then saying like, oh, well, I know carbs make your glucose spike, so I'll just skip carbs. And it's like, no, if you build muscle is a glucose processing machine. Like the more muscle we can put on, 1000%, it will help this problem. For somebody else, it might be a developed thing because of stress and them staring at their screens all night long, right? Like every single person, it goes back to these basics. Oh my gosh, the amount of times I have these conversations with my dad. He's like, Mr. Biohacker, I want to learn everything. And then, well, I heard that red light does this, and I heard that. And my question over and over is, hey, do you know how much protein you eat a day? Well, no, I know I eat plenty. Okay, but like, have you ever, for just 2 weeks, tracked to see how much? Because he eats very well in terms of quality, but like, you eat mostly vegetables. I see you skip 3 meals a day. Like, what are we doing? I bet you're not eating enough protein. Mm-hmm. If you care about this one health outcome, track your protein for a couple weeks and start lifting weights. Why don't we just start there and watch your blood markers improve? Just watch it happen over months. But again, we're skipping those because it takes work. It's not an instant thing. It is the hard stuff, but it's the most important stuff. And then it actually allows you to free up your worries about all the other things. Like it actually becomes more simplified and less mentally burdensome when you can just focus on the most important things. I had a conversation with a client about this today where she's like, hey, we're entering the holiday season. I think I want to go back up, like focus on maintenance calories. Let's focus on habits, this and that, because I like to be able to indulge in like the holiday type foods. And I'm like, great. I love that. However, we shouldn't even, if we're able to hit our protein goal first, just focus on that. Hit your protein goal. And then whatever calories you have left over, which you have plenty left over, then fill them in with whatever foods you want to, right? Let's keep it that simple. I don't want you thinking you need to restrict. I don't want you thinking you can't have ice cream or a pie or whatever the indulgent thing is, right? You can also have that stuff, but just nail your proteins and lift heavier and follow our lifting program. Do those 2 things for 2 months and just see what happens. And I don't care if you fill in those remaining calories with whatever food you want, with just straight up chocolate chip cookies. I don't care, but hit your protein goal first and nail your lifts and let's see what happens. Because again, those 2 things are the most important things, whether we are in a build phase or a cut phase, they are going to make a huge difference. And it's in a lot of different ways. You guys hear us say eat more protein, but like protein, one, helps build muscle tissue. We just talked about the importance of that for health. It also, more muscle speeds up your metabolism. Muscle is burns calories just carrying it around. Just healing from those lifting workouts takes extra calories. Protein is a satiating food, so it makes us more full. You actually end up eating less junk and craving less junk because you're just physically full. Protein creates our body, gets our body to naturally produce GLP-1, which everybody is injecting to try to not be hungry. Eat more protein and that naturally those hunger cues will go down. there are all these other trickle down effects. So when it sounds too basic to be true, when we say just hit your protein goal and let's see what happens, we're not just saying it, we're not pulling that out of nowhere. There's so many different mechanisms within our body that cause it to work.
Yeah. And I think that the other thing is, let's say you're listening to this and you're like, all right, fine, right? We're convincing you. I got to lift weights. I got to be more consistent. And you feel anything overwhelmed, or you're some part of you is talking yourself out of it, or how I'm going to do this. I think it's actually really important for you to now sit with yourself for a second. What is actually creating that resistance for you? Is it that you think you have to work out 4 or 5 days a week? Is it that you think you have to go to the gym and your commute is long and you can't even fathom it? Is it like your schedule? Is it how am I going to go at 5 a.m. or what time am I going to go? And you need to, this is why what we do in coaching is so valuable, because we don't have a client come in and we're like, all right, 5 days a week in the gym, let's go.
Hit these macros perfectly and measure every gram. No,
we're like, start with 1 day, start with 2 days, start with 20 minutes at home, start with a walk a day for all we care, right? Like, don't be afraid to start small, because the only way to guarantee that nothing happens and nothing improves is for you to do nothing, right? If you do something, you now are like, now you're a person that walks 20 minutes every day after dinner and gets extra sunshine and time with your spouse or your kids or whatever, right? There's so many benefits of that. So I think, like, make sure you're not putting an unnecessary amount of pressure on yourself to go from 0 to 100. Every little thing matters and adds up so quickly, even if you don't have to follow the perfect plan from day one. So I want to make,
you have to be consistent with whatever you decide you're going to stick to. So, yes. And another thing you just touched on, being honest with yourself about what the actual roadblock is, because then we can help you come up with systems to remove that roadblock or to make the new choice easier. So, I have this one example of a client. She is now, like, she works out on her, like, she's totally transformed her life in the last 2 years of working together. And she just graduated from coaching with us. She hated working out. And I was like, okay, like, I know you don't like it, but you do say you feel good when you do it. What is getting in your way? What's the thing that, like, holds you back the most? And she's like, she gave me a list, which I'm like, cool, be honest with me, because we're going to work through each of these things. Well, I have curly hair, and I'm like, cool, I can get that. I have to wash it twice if I work out in the afternoon, because then it's a hot mess. And I said, okay, what if we just work out in the morning and then you shower after? Like, that's a really simple suggestion, but what if we focus on that? Well, okay, that's good, but I don't like going in the basement because it's kind of dingy down there. Okay, you're doing dumbbell workouts right now. Bring them up to the living room. I will program dumbbell workouts only. We won't use your other equipment. Okay, what's next on your list, right? We're going to work down this list and make it more accessible for you. I go to the gym, but I'm really embarrassed because I don't really know how to use that. You have a barbell lift set up for me and I don't really know how to use it. And I've not done it before. And I'm embarrassed to take a video to send to you. Okay, cool. Let's sit on machines for our first couple months in the gym. And then when you get more comfortable, let me know. We'll go try. I had a client like that who, I don't know if I'll ever do this. 2 months in, she's like, I can't believe I'm back squatting at the YMCA and, like, feeling pretty confident in how it feels. But it takes time to get there and we need to layer these things in. If you're not honest with yourself and or with your coach about what the actual roadblock is, it is not a one size fits all solution. Every single person's roadblocks are going to be different.
Yeah. And that, like, concept of perfection is the actual, like, overarching barrier for you, right? Because that's, like, if you, let's say you have a perfect week, right? And you're like, I'm on it, I'm good, I'm motivated. And then something throws you off and you're like, well, if I can't go all 4 days this week, I'm not going to go any, right? And then we zoom out and look at your overall, I'm putting this in air quotes, but, like, compliance to the plan you set out for yourself, over the course of a month, right? Your compliance is going to be lower, trying to go from 0 to 100 and being on again, off again. I'm good.
And just 2 a week forever.
Yeah. And just
2 a week for a year.
Small. Yeah. So that's really, like, it doesn't have to be difficult or complicated. And then I have a client who's a really, really, really busy business owner. And she was, like, so adamant, but I'm D1 athlete at 4 days a week. That's what I've always done. And I'm like, okay, but if we look at the last 90 days, love you, respectfully.
That's not what you've always done.
Out 4 days in a week. So, like, whatever's in your brain, that's great. I love that your energy, but, like, we got to be realistic here. So I'm making the executive decision to pull you back to 2 full body days a week. let's knock that out of the park. Give me 3 weeks even of doing that 100%. Then maybe we'll add a third day. And then it's going to compound and it's going to feel so much easier. But you got to look at the data. If you haven't done anything, like client intakes, we talked about this on here before. They're all motivated. They're excited. They're like, I'm starting a new program. I'm going to change my life. And we're like, how many days a week do you work out? And they're like, none, but I can do 5 or 6. And I'm like,
No.
that's
Yeah. I often ask the question, what can you do on your hardest week? So like if I see that somebody's not been real consistent, but they're like, no, I keep them on there. I really want to work out 4 days a week. And I'm like, okay, but like, let's say stuff hits the fan, your kids are sick, something pops up in the middle of the week. What is realistic on your hardest week? Well, 1 workout. Okay, cool. Let me write you 2 full body workouts. Let's make a goal that 1 workout a week for the next 2 months is your goal. And if you get that second one in, you'll see it as a bonus. How about we start there? And they feel like it's not enough, but they end up making more progress doing it that way. So again, when we say the good enough approach, that's good enough. Like do whatever you can do on your hardest day, your hardest week, but we need to be able to do whatever it is that we commit to very consistently.
And the ROI from that, the simplicity and the boring stuff and meeting yourself where you're at and slowly letting that compound on itself, you're going to build confidence in yourself, first of all, because you're going to finally be able to have a plan that you can check the boxes, for lack of a better term, right? And something you can actually stick to. But where women get so caught up specifically is that doing enough consistently, you think it's just enough, which is why we're saying good enough. Doing enough consistently is going to far beat doing everything inconsistently.
And then nothing for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
comparing yourself
too much.
I think a lot of times people are comparing themselves to the version of themselves that, well, when I saw results, I was working out 6 days a week. Okay. How long did those results stick around?
And how miserable were you? And what did your life look like?
Oh, and then you got burnt out and then you gained it all back. Okay, then that method didn't work. We're not comparing ourselves to that method. Or I'm not comparing myself to the version of myself who was a college athlete or who had a lot of time on my hand before kids or like, right? Like you need to compare you to the version of you right now and let's progress from there. So, okay, we talked about the biology, I guess like the good enough approach in terms of dialing it back to make it realistic. But I also want to list out, like we already talked about protein and building muscle, but I want to list out what are the most important rocks. Like a lot of people we always say like stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. The most important things here, if you are new to this podcast and you listen to this and you're like, okay, I'll just run 1 day a week because I've been running, I want to run 6 days a week, but I'm just going to run 1 day a week. Don't do that. The most important things are going to be building muscle. Now, following an effective program and progressively overloading within it. Okay. So let's say you can only work out 1 day a week. You aim to get stronger and stronger week over week. Aim to make every set as challenging as it can be. And really follow a good program because there are very ineffective programs that people follow 6 days a week and they don't really get great results. Okay. So, if you are working with us, we write all of your programming custom. If you're just looking to buy a program, Mind Pump has a million programs out there that you can just buy. Follow one of those. But like you need to progressively overload and focus on building strength. Don't focus on how many calories you should burn in a day or in a given workout. That is an ineffective way to change your metabolism and keep body fat off long term. So 1, build muscle. Also, it's healthier long term. Like for longevity, cardio is good for heart health. For longevity and physique, muscle is great. And it also improves your bone density. There's so many benefits. So 1, build muscle. In order to build muscle, you need enough protein and you need enough calories. Now, that's not to say some people can, if you're just starting a lifting program, you certainly can build muscle and lose fat for a short amount of time. That's what we call newbie gains. But for the most part, people cannot lose fat and build muscle at the same time. It's very difficult. So there will be seasons of just building muscle. And then during fat loss seasons where maybe you lower your calories, the protein and the strength training doesn't change. You're still eating plenty of protein. You're still strength training consistently to progressively overload. But at that point, because there's less calories coming in, the goal is maintain as much muscle as I have, right? So during the build, I'm putting on muscle. During the cut, I am maintaining that muscle while I lose body fat, right? So protein, lifting, sleep, and recovery, or like maybe sleep and circadian rhythm. I would say are pretty big ones too, because they also impact out everything else, right? Just like I talked about all these like mechanisms to the protein being effective. Improving your sleep improves your hormones that tell you when you're full. They change and improve your hormones that tell you when you have cravings or not. If you lack, and you guys can test this method for yourself, pay attention the next week that you're like, oh my gosh, I had so many cravings. What was your sleep like that week? Because a lot of times those things go hand in hand when your sleep is poor. Sleep impacts the amount that you can lift during those lifts. Sleep impacts it's so many of these different things. Your hormone health, your cortisol, all these things that people think, oh, I have a hormone problem. Okay, sleep, lift weights, eat protein. Keep it simple with those three things. And then if we wanted, and again, those three, I would say when we're talking about physique change. Now, if we want to take it another layer and talk about the biggest good enough things for health, add some colors, eat a plant and a protein at every meal, add a fruit or vegetable to every meal, and that's good enough. Like those four things. How consistent are you with those four things? Time and time and time and time again. Can you be consistent with those four things for 3 months? If you can, just monitor how do you feel after.
Yep. And then like one of the, I think, most impactful things for my health, again, this is after this doesn't need to come in the same sequence that it came in for me, but just kind of the way the cookie crumbled. Even though I was getting my protein in consistently, I've been lifting heavy for 10 years. I prioritize movement. I know the value of my sleep. It's interesting. My husband and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago, and we do date night like 2 or 3 times a month. And we will go out to dinner and we would have this fun meal and connect and all those things. But we always felt pressure to have a drink. And then we were so pissed the next morning, like our HRV tanked. And now it takes me 5 days to recover from alcohol consumption these days. And we kind of mutually agreed, like, you know what? We really value like our sleep quality, how we feel the next day. And like we started to map out like what are our worth it's and like are these date nights? We don't need a drink together to have fun. And we usually only have one anyway. So we started to prioritize different things like that. And again, that looks different for everybody. But anyway, the point is that I had that foundation there. And then looping back to what I was saying, one of the most important and impactful things for me in my life is having time to chill out, like relax, have fun, be present. We always feel like we have to do. And trust me, I am like full on kettle mode when I'm saying this. We always feel like we have to do. Sometimes we need to just be. I know that's very broad and that's not like helpful. It doesn't give you something tangible to walk away with. But it's funny. I've been programming on a couple of clients' calendars who are very type A realtors that working 60 hours on their calendar. Their habit is to lay on the floor for 10 minutes and stare at the ceiling with no interruptions. No,
I love that. Do it outside
nothing.
for an extra bonus.
Yeah. I'm like nothing, 10 minutes of silence and white space. I don't care. And they're like, I can't focus. I'm like, I don't care. That's not the point. You don't have to focus on anything. If your thoughts are racing, let them race, but give yourself 10 minutes to think and feel, because we fill every minute of our days. And I can't tell you how calm you'll feel of doing that for weeks and weeks and weeks, right? So it sounds.
And at first you might feel antsy because your body doesn't know what to do. You may cry. You like this sounds extreme, but I've seen this happen with clients. You may cry. This happened to me at your house. You may fall asleep. Right? Like I started napping and I'm like, what is going on? And I've got plenty of sleep the night before. And I'm like, I'm just not used to this little stimulation on a Sunday, sitting at home without being pulled out, without having my to-do list, without doing laundry. Like we're just sitting and I fell asleep. So again, you might feel emotions bubble up. You might feel yourself fighting it like, oh, this is so boring. I could be being more productive. Take those as signs that you need it. And after a few weeks of practicing that every single day, eventually your body will regulate and be like, okay, we're not stressed out. Also, because you mentioned slow down time or like time just being stimulated visually does not count. Because I do know a lot of people who are like, yeah, Netflix is my downtime, or like I'll watch TV and that's my downtime, don't get me wrong, like Bravo Housewives is my downtime too, but that doesn't count as present time, because your brain is still being stimulated, especially if you're watching something that's trash like that, where there's drama being fed into your brain. Like, that is not actually calming to the nervous system. Okay. Online shopping is not really calm down, right? We're clicking that dopamine button over and over and over with all these things I'm talking about. Social media is not downtime. Be outside, be present, laugh and cook with your kids, go for a walk, stare at the leaves while they're falling. Like, those things are the things we're talking about. It is not something where you can be visually stimulated. That doesn't count.
Yep. Yeah. And that is really what I mean. Like, that time to regulate is really helpful for me. And I can think back even like 3 or 4 years ago, how dysregulated I could be from the slightest inconvenience in my day. I can't tell you how much easier it is to wake up and feel joy from very simple things in life.
It's so boring for us on her team. Like, we don't get any good stories of the ladies she fights at Costco. We don't get any stories of the
Honestly,
person
though.
who sold you your RV. Like, it's been years. It's been years since
Yeah.
we've gotten a really good Jill's been triggered story, because you're that regulated now, you know?
I'm
So zen. So
Yeah. It's my new personality. I just realized.
it really is. I mean, truly. But it also allows you a moment to reset so that you can make decisions with better intention, right? If you're just going through the motions, being overstimulated all the time and being on go, go, go mode, naturally your brain steps into habit. Okay, I'm just going to do what my norm is. Like, you're a robot just following a routine. If you can slow down and disconnect, it gives you like that moment of pause to allow you to be mindful before you make an eating choice, before you just hit, yeah, I'm going to order that Starbucks I order every morning on my phone. You know what? I think today, I said I want to save money and not have caffeine as much. Maybe today I'll make some tea at home, right? It gives you that moment of pause to be able to actually change your habits with intention.
It's funny. I posted literally on my story yesterday. A friend of mine had said, like, today almost got me. I was very busy. I had all these things. And he's like, it's funny what's normal, again, air quotes. And this isn't like lumping people into a negative category, but like, often what's normal is, I'm too busy. I don't have time to go to the gym today. And he's like, I'm not normal. Like, I'm not making that choice for myself. I am a priority. This is important to me. It would be really easy for me to say, you know what, today was a long day. I'm just gonna skip today and I'm gonna stay home. And honestly, he shared that. And I was like, I'm so glad you shared that, because I was real close to talking myself out of a lift. I've been sick. I had a long day. I hate working out at the time I had to work out, much later in the day than I prefer. And I was like, what else am I going to do? Sit on the couch and scroll for the next 45 minutes? Or can I go do this? I'll feel so proud of myself and so much better after. And then I can scroll later. Like, there's plenty of time to do that too. But what happens is, it generally creates a much more positive cascade with that first choice.
Yes.
I lifted, and then I was like, you know what? I should probably get some steps in. And then we ended up cooking a dinner, and I ran to the grocery store and I was like, you know what? We don't have the stuff to make this dinner, but we really should be intentional here and not order out, not do X, Y, and Z. So my husband's like, cool, I'm going to hit the sauna, jump in the shower. By the time you get back, I'll have this stuff prepped. You'll have what we need, and we can finish up the dinner. And we had sat down and had a beautiful dinner as a family. And I'm like, you know what would have happened? I would have sat on the couch. I would have been wasting time for 3 hours, and it would have been a totally different scenario. So
that's actually a good tip that we give clients on a day-to-day basis too. Like, if somebody is having a really tough day, and I've done this myself, where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like going to the gym. I'm already in the car. I have gone to Starbucks, gotten a latte, and gone to the gym anyway with my latte, and walked on an incline on the treadmill while listening to music or a podcast, just to be like, maybe I'll just walk today. Mm-hmm. And then once I'm there, I'm like, well, maybe I'll just do one set of my squats. And then I do my squats and I'm like, all right, I feel good. Now I'm going to work out. Right.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, now I didn't come all the way to the gym to do one set of squats.
But give yourself permission to do less, but do something, because a lot of times that just gets the ball rolling, where you give yourself permission. You know what? If your workout feels too long, why don't you just do the first 2 exercises and then just see how you feel? Once the moment and this momentum and action thing, I think, comes up a lot because people wait for motivation. Action breeds motivation. That momentum is going to get you doing more action because you feel good. There's there's a little reward system of like, wow, I just did that. I guess I'm capable of more than I thought. Or it physically helps you to have more energy because you're moving, like an object in motion stays in motion, right? So when in doubt, what's one very, very, very small thing that you can do? Just go do one thing. And I challenge you guys as you're listening to this episode, what's one thing you can do today? After you listen to this, what's one thing you can do today? If it's nighttime, maybe it's packing your gym bag for the morning so it's in the car ready to go when you go to work. Like, it doesn't have to be some major thing, but what's one thing you can do today? And then what's one thing you can do each day for the rest of the week? Again, it might be laying on the floor for 5 minutes and looking at the ceiling. That might feel like nothing, but that could be a really big thing for somebody. It might be going to the gym 3 times next week because 2 times is your norm and you want to add a third. But just set a small thing and then take action. That is, it's necessary. The consistency matters more than the hardcoreness over and over and over again. And then you don't need to worry about, oh, I shouldn't do this, or I can't do this, or I can't have that. Focus on what you should, what the most important things are to do. Nail your protein goal. And we've had lots of episodes on this, but when we say nail your protein goal, you should be aiming for like a gram of protein per pound of healthy body weight. Okay. So like if you have a lot of weight to lose, think, okay, what's my goal weight? Aim for a gram of protein per gram of whatever your goal weight is. Lift 2 to 4 times a week with progressive overload. Start getting sleep. Just do those 3 things and just see what happens. But you have to be really consistent with it for, I would say, only 3 months, and you will notice a difference.
The last caveat or disclaimer I want to make on this is we've just shared the good enough approach, right? To health, to weight loss, whatever. And the things that are going to move the needle the most. Really quick, I just had a client conversation where she wants to lose body fat, but she doesn't want to be in a deficit right now. She's like, I know I mentally can't stick to it. And I'm like, great. If you're at maintenance, you're prioritizing protein and colors, and you're lifting heavy as shit 3 days a week that you committed to, you are going to drive incredible physique change, improve your health, and never having to go into a deficit. So I want to make this clear that you have to look at what you are willing to do, and whatever your starting point is, you're on whatever chapter you're on, and that's just what it is. But you have to be realistic with the expectation that you have for the things that you're able to do and commit to. And that should be okay for you. You have to be okay with that. So if you can only commit to 2 20-minute home dumbbell workouts a week, amazing. That is incredible. And you're going to see immense progress with this good enough approach and sticking to that consistently and long term. But also, if you are wired to follow crash diets and Weight Watchers and keto and dropping weight as fast as possible, and you're like, well, this isn't getting me the result that I want, you're losing sight of what matters here is that we want you to improve your health and improve your physique in a way that sticks with you forever by changing your behaviors. And that might feel like the longer journey. But again, like Jess said, you lost the weight and gained it back how many times? And none of those approaches actually worked for you. So you have to be patient and kind of release any control or vision you have, I guess, with the end product. Because realistically, when you are like elevating who you are and changing your behaviors, it's a forever thing, and it takes time, and there is no like end destination that you're getting to. You're just doing these things consistently and leveling yourself up. So I want to make sure that you have the right expectation for the outcomes of these things that you're doing, and give yourself grace and be patient with yourself, and celebrate yourself when you hit these things consistently, and then evaluate, where can I go to the next step, or where am I maybe pushing myself too hard, too fast, too quickly, and I need to dial it back a little bit more and be more realistic. So this is the beauty of coaching, is that we obviously help you evaluate that data and do that for you. But that's really what the final disclaimer I wanted to make. But good enough is what's going to create consistency and predictability and the trust in yourself and your body to ultimately get what you want in the long run, and then keep it forever. That's all for this episode, and we will see you guys next time.